This show has been brought to you by the Thomas Allen Collection. The Thomas Allen Collection is a men's accessory line designed to attract and capture a variety of tastes with a unique appeal. Thomas Allen strives to produce an extraordinary design to turn a new leaf on fashion for men and their desired occasions. If I told you once, I told you several times on this podcast that ladies, get your men a Thomas Allen Collection tie. They'll love it. Gentlemen, get you a Thomas Allen Collection tie. You can't go wrong with rocking a Thomas Allen Collection tie at a formal event. I'll be rocking one in an upcoming at the CBC events. BG, don't you own a Thomas Allen Collection tie?
Yes, sir. And they way fly than anything that's already out there. I got a couple of them, so I recommend going out there and getting some of that flavor.
Yep, Thomas Allen Collection. You can reach him at 678-960-9171. 678-960-9171. Thomas Allen, when tying a knot really counts. Now on to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, a classic.
Bismillah. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Yeah, I chose the path chose me. It's the Lord's plan, divine decree, natural high, window sheet, up a parallel view, let the ghetto see. BK, NOLA, OMF, GLD, Amazing Grace, Hater Whispers.
Welcome to the FREELUNCH Podcast, home of the New South Movement Network. This is your boy Tight. I have my main man, the co-host, the co-pilot, B. Jeezy.
And I quote, "Get your hands off me." Get your hands off me. Boy,
Don't put your hands on me.
That's what I'm talking about. FREELUNCH Podcast, what's happening? This is your boy BG, the 27 kid. Tight.
Married football.
Yes, indeed. But did you get a chance to catch that U.S. Open last night? See them Williams sisters ball?
I did. I enjoyed it. It was a wonderful thing. It was an event. All the stars were there, including Donald Trump was in the house.
Donald Trump was there.
Oprah was there.
One Kim Kardashian was there.
Yes, she was. We don't care about her. What does she do?
I don't know.
Even T-Mobile don't know. They just put on the bottom of the screen during the Super Bowl, famous person.
Hilarious,
man. So I introduced, or I started off by saying married football.
Yes, you did.
And the reason I did that was because just to the listeners and to those that listen to the FREELUNCH Podcast, as you heard last week, we had Coach on the show, and Coach is a new member or one of the members of the New South Movement Network, and we dropped the new podcast, the D1 Sports Talk Podcast, and every Tuesday we release a show on that particular podcast that kind of centers around sports. So I wanted to make certain that I let the listeners, the FREELUNCH listeners, know that they're interested in sports and entertainment, because it really is a pretty entertaining podcast that they can definitely check out that show. BG, what you think about the D1 Sports Talk Podcast?
I enjoyed it, man. My opening statement was an interlude to this week's episode, where we got an example of how intense youth league football can be, and that's what you get with the D1 Sports Talk Podcast. You get a little bit of the real everyday sports stuff, the stuff that we sit around when it's just us and chicken wings and beer talking, but then you also get some real expert analysis coming from Tight and Coach, who actually coaches the game on the high school level and is very familiar with the sport. So I think it's a good blend, man. I enjoy listening to them, and I've gotten great reviews from other people that have tuned in to the first two episodes. So we're expecting big things from that portion of the New South family.
Yeah, we are, but that's not even the purpose of today's show. We do have some guests today. one voice that you've heard before, and another voice will be a new voice, but they bring expertise to a topic that I think is going to be very interesting and really a good platform for the Free Lunch audience. So, BG, I'm going to let you do the honors of actually introducing both our guests.
I'd be more than happy to. So this is family for us, though. And like we talked about when we first started doing these podcasts, that we were going to introduce the world to our circle, to our family members, that we've shared in these different enlightening conversations throughout the years. And these two beautiful women are a part of the H-Town connection that I've been able to establish, H-Town being Houston, Texas, 2/3 of it. And we'll probably be able to get the third member on to talk about some different things as well. But not to prolong it anymore, we've got Selena. You heard her probably like episode 60 or so, where she shared her testimony and stories about her family and growing up. And we also have assistant principal.
I don't know if you should say names. Should we say names?
Well, what you mean?
Well, that's fine.
So let's welcome.
Give an IG handle. IG handle.
Well, but Maria, what you want your name to be on this show?
Yeah, because I don't have an IG handle. Maria's fine.
Exactly. So, Free Lunch Podcast. Let's welcome Selena and Maria to the show.
Oh my gosh. Good evening, y'all. Thank you for having me back. Although I'm not the expert on this topic, but thank you for allowing me to chime in with my opinion tonight.
Thank you for having me on the show today. I appreciate it. I hope to give you some insightful information, and definitely want to have a great conversation about the topic.
And we will not incriminate you, so don't worry. Everything is all right.
I would like to have a job in the morning.
Yeah, you're in good hands with the Free Lunch Podcast.
Appreciate it.
I got statistics here. This is from the NEA, and it's talking about educating black boys.
What is the NEA?
NEA, that's the National Education Association, ain't it?
You tell us. You found
for real? Shit, nah.
Golly. Say I don't even know who.
The NEA.
The National Education.
Yeah. Let's go with that. We'll allow them to continue to eat their chips and guacamole.
Thank you. All right, this is called the We Dream a World. It's a 2025 campaign for black men and boys, reporting black youth are struggling along all points of the academic continuum. It says 42% of black students attend schools that are undersourced and performing poorly. Black boys are 3 times more likely to be suspended or expelled from school than their white peers. Mm-hmm. Black and Hispanic males constitute almost 80% of youth in special education programs. And then one more. Black male students make up 20% of all students in the United States classified as mentally retarded, although they are only 9% of the student population. We've been forced to ask the question of, like, is there some disparity in the educational institution that our children are experiencing at a higher rate than, say, children that come from other ethnic groups, Caucasian and the Asian communities? And so today, with Maria, who's an educator herself, we're going to be looking to get some insight on, is that a real thing? Is it really some things that are going on in these classrooms and in these schools across the country that are putting our kids, young black boys and girls, at a disadvantage? And if there are, what are some of the things that we can do as parents and as family members and friends to ensure that our kids are getting a fair shot at education? So that's what we'll be jumping into today.
But I'm interested in, so Selena, Maria, you guys kind of brought this topic to both BG and I, and it was more of us kind of reaching out, trying to get good ideas from members of the team and of the family. And so, Selena, you kind of thought about, or you suggested this particular topic. I'm more or less interested in kind of some background as to how you guys, without going into particulars, but more or less how you guys started even conversing about this particular topic, and then we kind of go from there.
So one evening, Selena contacted me, and we were kind of discussing some topics, I guess, to bring forward to you all. And one of the things that I told her was, you know, kind of when I get to a certain point in my life, I wouldn't mind doing a dissertation on basically the discipline of minority students in the school system. Because as someone who is, you know, kind of directly involved with that, I often see, especially with African American and Latino males, that there's a disproportionate rate of those students being suspended, expelled, than their other counterparts. And so we kind of were just talking about that a little bit, and I wanted to kind of, you know, see what you all thought about it.
If you was to write a dissertation, what would that thesis statement be?
There's often a disconnect when school districts discuss that, when they have a meeting about how Black and Latino males are being suspended, because those are conversations that we do have in meetings, and that are not with just teachers, but meetings with other administrators, meetings with assistant superintendents and those individuals, the higher ups. Everyone is aware. I mean, it is a problem. And I think the thing about it is that when the discussion is had, a lot of times the discussion is basically kind of what can the school do? But I think oftentimes they leave out the part about getting the parents involved, and reaching out into the community, even getting the community involved, because it does not stop at the school. What your child does during the school day is oftentimes a reflection of what is going on at home. And I think with that being said, you know, the school has a very one-sided view, because oftentimes children are left with us, you know, 8, 10, sometimes even 12 hours of the day, depending on what time school ends and what time the parent actually comes and picks the child up. So I think, you know, for me, it's about the lack of parental involvement, the lack of community involvement, especially with the Black and Latino community, and reaching out to these young men and finding some different solutions, because this has been an ongoing problem in the school system. Because if it wasn't, there wouldn't be conversations about it, you know, coming from, you know, top down. And so I think that's one of the things that, you know, is the missing, I guess, variable in the equation, is the parental and community involvement.
I did have a quick question. Are you saying you have an African-American male student or a Latino student that does the exact same problem, or I don't want to call it a crime because that's too harsh, but
same incident
that does the same incident as a Caucasian, but the discipline is 3 times more? Can you give us an example so that we can kind of make it plain?
Absolutely. So, for instance, if you have, let's just say, oftentimes, you know, you do have physical altercations. And so many times when the physical altercations involve minorities, and specifically minority males, kind of the first reaction of a school is typically to suspend or expel or to send that child to alternative school. Many times, the conversations when it comes to their counterparts are, you know, what was done to provoke it. There's a lot of more conversation surrounding the incident. So questions are being asked: was this child bullied? You know, was this child provoked? There's a kind of prolonged period of possible investigation. So there's more things to it, and the outcome is typically that those particular children, other solutions are found for them, rather than suspending, expelling, or sending those children to alternative school. You'll find a lot of those children just doing things like detentions or being continuously monitored to see if any future incidents occurred. You know, you'll see a lot of parental involvement where the parents are at the school, or those parents, as soon as their child gets in any type of discipline issues, are contacting the district. And many times, or sometimes, the district will reverse some of the decisions as well, just because, parents have a louder voice when it comes to contacting the district and talking to them. So you will see a difference, and many times there are a difference. Charter school systems, they're more free to decide on what to do with the student. When I was at a public charter school, I can remember this one young man, literally probably first incident of the year. This young man unfortunately did have some kind of, I don't want to say major behavioral issues, but, was being called, an administrator was being called to the room, just kind of busy, I guess, in the classroom. Sometimes wouldn't sit down in his seat, like to continuously talk. But when he had his first major incident, they basically told him that he was expelled from the school and he needed to find go to his own school. Rather than, I know the two Asian students who actually got in a physical altercation, and the parents came up there, immediately talked to the administrators, and all of a sudden, I saw those children at the school the next day. And so, you have constant incidents where this occurs. And so when you look at that, you see how unfortunate it is and how really a lot of times your Black and Latino males suffer, because once their discipline starts being recorded, those things follow them. And those can lead a lot of incidents that occur in school, especially nowadays, because of a presence of a campus officer. Sometimes those things can lead to them already being in the court system. So it's unfortunate for our children.
And I guess I would have to play devil's advocate in a sense, because unfortunately, as I stated earlier, I'm not the expert. However, I think I have somewhat of a valid opinion just based on the community that I live in and some of the relationships around me. And we can absolutely, Maria can go on and write this dissertation and her thesis and all this amazing stuff. However, should we hold our community and our parents more accountable? Perhaps we'd have less of these incidences in the event that there were more of us, particularly our generation, more involved, mentoring more children. Perhaps they would be a little bit more inspired. Perhaps they'll be a little bit more proud. How much blame can we really place on the system?
In all honesty, let me say this, and I agree with you, because I think it does require parental involvement. Just speaking from personal experiences and being in two different school systems, one of my most challenging parents, I will say, were my African American parents, and not because challenging in the matter of defending their children, but what they chose to defend them on. And I'll just give you an example. When I was a teacher, I had a student who literally failed the majority of her classes almost every 6 weeks period. Never saw the parent, never. Tried to contact the parent, phone numbers are disconnected, try to schedule conferences with the parent, all of those methods of communication. That child got into an altercation with another young lady over a bag of chips at lunch. The next day, that parent came in there and raised holy hell over a bag of chips. Not had been in our rooms and the teachers' rooms and having conversations.
Hold up now. What kind of chips were they?
Flaming hot
Doritos,
Cheetos.
baby. Had to be Doritos.
Were they the purple bag?
No,
Or were they the purple
They
bag?
flaming hot Cheetos.
They were some flaming
Some Funyuns.
No, they weren't Funyuns. They weren't Funyuns because the kids don't like their breath to stink.
Oh.
So, but they were some flaming chips.
Okay.
So,
Well,
but the thing about it, and that was
I
unfortunate. I hadn't seen this parent all year, and my first conversation with her was about a bag of chips, not about your child is failing almost every class.
I have a question though, Maria. Quick, just to add some more context to this topic of this conversation. What grade or what age level are you referring to? Is this across all levels of education? Are you referring to strictly the high school level or the middle school level? what level are you referring to?
I've been in a middle school setting and in a high school setting, and I've seen it in both. And research shows that it does not begin at higher or secondary levels. It actually begins in elementary levels, even as far back as kindergarten and pre-K programs, where minority students are being exited from those particular programs because of what they say consistent discipline issues. So you can see it really across the board in the educational system. I haven't done any particular research about higher education, but it would not surprise me if that pattern even followed in those realms where people in our community were being given harsher punishments, with campus discipline boards in higher education as well. But it definitely is across the board in education.
Selena did bring up a point about the parental involvement and what role that could possibly play in the balance of how our children are, I guess, handled or managed in the classroom setting. And I agree that the more that the parent is involved in the full educational experience, I do believe that does something with the school administration and the teachers in the way that they deal with the child, because they know if they have a partner in the parent, it creates, I think, more of a cooperative to where the teacher relies on the parent to handle behavior issues and all those type of things. So I do agree that it's extremely important. But I will also say that, though, I think that in a lot of settings, it is systematic, because when I look at my own personal experience, to where when I'm coming up in elementary school, most of my teachers were white females. And we know culturally, in the way that our country is set up, that most white females don't probably know how to address a young black boy. They oftentimes are seeing us as overly aggressive anyway. And so they're quicker to pull the trigger and use these extreme measures of discipline in these settings versus having someone that may be from the community, that may be a black male that understands black boys leading that classroom. He's probably going to have a little bit more patience because that understanding is there. So while I do agree with the parental part, I also understand that there is this systematic thing that I believe exists in a lot of these classrooms that's putting our kids in a disadvantage, for lack of a better word.
How often are the schools required to have PTA? Like, does PTA even exist anymore? Is the first question. I can remember and I can reflect on going to elementary and middle school PTAs with my parents and them meeting my teachers. So that's the first question. Do they have PTA anymore? And what programs do the school systems have in place that welcomes the parent to the school? I'm talking about policy.
There still are a lot of PTAs, parent-teacher associations, or parent-teacher organization, PTOs. So you will find them. However, you will find them at particular schools. I think the thing about it is that it takes a lot. And it takes, kind of mature adults to be a part of a PTO, and willing adults who want to be a part of a PTO. But the things that, we're finding is some of these schools, have parents who work two jobs and are unable to make it to PTO meetings, or, have multiple children at home that they have to take care of and are unable to make it to PTO meetings. I'll just tell you where I am. We've been in existence for almost 3 years, and our PTO probably consists of maybe four really dedicated parents. Wow. I'm in a school where approximately 71% of our children are on free and reduced lunch and are considered to be at or below poverty line. And so there's multiple factors that go into organizing and maintaining a PTO. But as far as, are they still around? Yes. Are they at every school, and are they sustaining and viable? No.
Why would some schools have a PTO but others would not have a PTO?
That's a good question. I don't think I can speak for every school, but it is beneficial to have a PTO. I'll approach it from that standpoint. It's beneficial because you do form different types of relationships outside of the school day when parents and teachers are working together, when administrators are present. So there's a lot of ways to kind of form a tighter bond, I guess, between all the individuals involved in the educational process of a child. But as far as why they do not organize, I'm not sure. I don't know if you have parents who are not as willing or parents who just have too much on their plate and they just cannot devote the time.
For the schools, how are they zoning these children? So are the children that attend a particular school, do they live in that neighborhood, in that area, or are they passing through 2 or 3 schools in their zone to attend another school?
Well, the school system, the district where I work, it's both. You may have some campuses who have a particular magnet program on the campus where the students can be bused an hour or even 2 hours away from their home or closest home school to the magnet program. But then it could also have a zoned, some of the students are zoned to the school where they're neighborhood students. You can have some campuses that are fully magnet, such as the campus where I work, and all of my students are bused in and are not from, almost all of them are not from the neighborhood. But, that's just my particular district. But, you go to other school districts in the metropolitan area, especially in the suburban area, many of them are zoned schools.
I raised those questions to really circle back to the original conversation, Selena, that you rose, and BG, that you sort of piggybacked off of, but then you kind of went into the system issue. And the reason I raised those questions because I think two things kind of stood out for me from Maria's questions, right? Number one was the lack of PTOs, and some schools have them, some schools don't. Why they have them, I don't know. But I think one major reason that you have lack of parent and community involvement can really be seen in some of the zoning. Because using myself as an example, the schools that I attended in elementary school and high school were schools that were that I was zoned to. I knew all the kids in the community. The PTA was strong because it was parents from the community. So from elementary school and high school for me were really that whole it takes a village to raise a child concept. Now, when you think about the students in middle school, I went to a middle school that I wasn't zoned for, but it was a magnet school. But with that particular school, with it being magnet, then you're going to have more parents that are going to be more involved in the students' level of activity. The point that I'm trying to make is that my high school, on the other hand, even though a lot of the students that I attended, they were zoned to go to that school, a number of them wasn't. So the involvement that I saw from the community and from the parents were more or less coming from those students that were zoned in that community. And I say all that to say that, Selena, you're right. It does take the involvement of the parents to really hold, to BG's point, these teachers that have no idea who they're teaching accountable. But we have to figure out, in my opinion, how we get the parents involved. And I think one way is to look at zoning and look at the lack of PTAs and PTOs. I said a lot, really, to take this conversation whatever direction you guys want to take.
I wonder if some of these school systems or these schools are cutting out PTA because people ain't coming.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But that's not the
I don't think we're
responsibility.
dealing with the same kind of parents we were dealing with.
No.
But the PTO not the responsibility of the school. That's the responsibility of the parent.
Exactly.
But if you zoning these kids, if I'm a parent and my kid going all the way across the city to go to a school, then I have there's no connection there. But if the kid going to the school that he's zoned to go to, then you're gonna have a lot more. Even if it's not my parents, it's gonna be my neighbor who gonna be there. That's gonna hold them kids accountable or what have you.
It's different, bro.
And I think it is. And the thing about it is that when you make that decision to have your child go to a school that's an hour or two away, you also need to factor in some other things. What if my child gets disciplined and has to stay for after school detention or come to Saturday detention? And that's one of our other issues. Transportation. The kids don't have any transportation to really suffer the consequences of their actions during the school day. And so, there's some other factors I think that parents need to consider before they choose to bus their child an hour or two or drive their child an hour or 2 hours away. I think the thing about it is that it all needs to connect somehow. But, those are decisions as a parent and things as a parent that you have to think of.
And I'm really interested because I think Selena was going to say something real important, but you also have these situations to where the school is right there. Like you only got one school, one high school, one middle school in a said community, in a said city that's easily accessible to the parents, but they still not coming. Like they're not involved. And I think we're in a generation or in a phase right now to where parents are basically dumping their kids on the schools and expecting the kids to get everything that they're going to need in their life from school.
Although there might be other, circumstances involved, I think the root of the issue is broken families. And I think the root of it is, not to be brash, but why do we keep having children?
Lord, have mercy, Selena. You gonna go there?
Without a father being permanently present, why do we continue to have children and we're not married? Honestly,
that's a good question.
We have to have accountability.
Well.
The parents that have a lot on their plate, I see it firsthand every day.
Yeah.
She doesn't have time to go to PTO. She barely has time to help with homework. And I'm speaking of my younger sister. And there's plenty of them out there. Yeah. There's just not enough of them. There's not enough parents who will attend PTA and just roughly speaking, Maria, I don't know if you guys carry these types of statistics, but do you all know how many single parent household children, are enrolled in school, or does that even get taken into account?
Typically with the campus data, not necessarily. They do a lot of surveys, school-wide surveys or campus-wide surveys where they do ask personal questions and then compile the data and then, submit it to us. But right offhand, no, as a campus, no, we don't ask those type of questions to compile data.
But see, now we getting heavy. Because we was talking about discipline being disproportionate to the African American students and to the Latino students, and we ventured all the way off into you don't need to have no baby.
That tie into the parental involvement.
It ties into the parental involvement, but let's get back to the actual disproportion. Two things for me is the parent issue. I would agree, and Selena, you are 100% right. There's too many kids having babies. But let's look at the institution of the administration in these districts as well. And what I mean by that is how many people of African American descent or, black or Latinos are in these administrative positions, Maria, kind of leaning on your expertise, that can offer a different kind of viewpoint or that hold those administrative offices?
I mean, as far as that goes, you will find a lot of times in a school district where, you know, coming from the top down, that you will get to a certain point where the top individuals look nothing or not identical to kind of the mid-level individuals. And so what you will find is that you have people in place where the ultimate decision makers, I guess, are the counterparts of our children. And so I think with
White Caucasian.
Yeah,
Caucasian American.
we'll translate.
White folks.
Don't look like the black students that they are principaling, that they are administrating.
yes, correct.
There's a culture clash.
Yes.
How do these people get these positions?
The school board.
Are they
you know,
appointed positions? Are they elected positions? Did they
I
get
mean,
promoted?
many of the top positions, you know, are appointed and elected, you know, but as far as the principals and the area superintendents and you know, and those individuals go through a hiring process, I guess. But you can find the system has bureaucracy just like any other really system. So, you know, when you think it's about, I guess, necessarily qualifications or how will this individual best fit this campus, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it really is about, you know, who you know. And so you'll end up with individuals at a campus that really sometimes don't need to be there, because you will have some individuals who really cannot identify with the students that they serve.
How are these administrative folk evaluated?
Really, as the campus, are they moving the campus in the right direction and towards the goal that has been set by those above them? Yeah. So say, for instance, if a campus needs to show so much growth in test scores, you know, is that principal, who's also considered the instructional leader of the campus, is that individual moving that campus towards growth in test scores or growth in students taking so many pre-AP classes or advanced placement classes? And so there's objectives that have to be set for those individuals, and then they look at is that individual moving their campus in that particular direction or achieving those goals that they've set.
And this is the thing that we're dealing with, I think, with today's educational system, is that the focus is on these measures that seem to me so far from getting the most out of each individual child. You got measures that are based off of, like she said, test grades. You got measures that are based off of how many children pass to the next grade. You got no child left behind that all these school systems are faced with. So it's like the educational focus is not on making this child the best that they can be. It's more of these short-term, small focus objectives that you really don't get anything from. And we definitely as a community don't get any beneficial product from it.
But see, BG, this goes back, this what goes back to me, to previous conversations that we've had in which I turned the finger at our so-called current leadership, because to me, these are the political issues, and I kind of wanted to talk to Maria about that as well. But these are the type of marches, and these are the type of protests or the type of conversations that our so-called leaders should be having at both the national level as well as on the local level. You see, is understanding the curriculum that's being taught and making certain that what's being taught and what's being evaluated, and those administrative officials that are in those positions are have the best interest of the students at the core. And it's no different than the police and what's happening right now with the whole police movement and the Black Lives Matter, and they want to go up down the stage and take the mic and, well, go to these classrooms and these city hall meetings and talk to these people about this curriculum that's being taught. And then if you part of the Black Lives Matter and you're not even on the PTO or the PTA, then your voice needs to be mute. Because you need to be on the PTO and the PTA and helping to build your community such that we're not having this disproportionate discipline that's happening in the school system.
The problem is that, I think the community, especially the minority community, has become too picky and too choosy about what they fight for, or I guess, or what they support.
No, it's not too picky and too choosy, Maria. It's the one that has the high visibility and that's going to get the most attention for self gratification and self promotion.
Now, particular causes have become trendy, and so when it comes to that, there's so many things that are left out. I'll just give you an example. So there was a school, a historically black school, being shut down, and the community rallied against that but the system wanted to shut the school down because of low attendance and because of the school couldn't perform as far as academically and on standardized tests. So the school was being shut down. Well, my thing is, why do you protest the school being shut down? Where were you when these students were failing? Where were you when these students need people to come in and tutor them and be mentored? Where was the community, before that process even began? Don't protest after the fact.
I agree. BG.
I'm forced to ask the question, like, is the educational system failing us? I'm working with the local institution here on the college level. I'm teaching one class, and my class is mostly composed of sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And I'm having them do writing assignments, and we're using the internet a lot, doing some of the online quizzes and all this type of stuff. And I got them on a schedule, and they have to turn in certain assignments at a certain period of time. And two of the things that I see these young people struggling with on the technical level, they're struggling with their grammar and doing writing and answering discussion questions and formulating a thought and putting that thought on paper in a legible, comprehensive manner. So I've got these people that are like they'll probably be more like 20, 21 or so, and their writing is like they're in the 7th grade or worse. You got them having trouble turning assignments in on time and being prompt and doing all these things that you just expect to just be second nature to a college student. They're struggling with it. And this is a predominantly African-American class makeup. And so I'm asking the question, is like, what's been happening all of these years prior to this point? What were you asked to do in elementary, middle, and high school? What were you even asked to do your first year at this college? What was the expectation or the standard that was set? And I mean, when I get this type of result, I got to be like, well, nobody really forced these kids to be accountable, and nobody forced them or made them step up their quality of work. So, for me, it's like for certain kids coming out of certain places, the school systems are just another element of the trap. They are another element of putting our kids at a disadvantage and keeping them behind. Because when you go across the railroad track, when you go to these other school systems, the kids are learning at a high level and they're doing so much more with their school experience. So I'm really just perplexed with what's going on with the educating of a lot of our children.
I guess I go back to how your mama let you, you know what I'm saying? Do your parents realize that you have these issues?
Well,
the parents.
But see, if mom and them came up in the same system, like, what do they have to even weigh it against? What are they comparing a good education against if they came through the same thing?
But see, for me, it goes back to the lack of PTA and PTO structures and the involvement in the community, because the PTO will be able to identify. Well, first off, the PTO and the PTA is holding these teachers and these educators accountable, and then on top of that, if a teacher not getting the job done, then they getting out of that. Now I know, Selena, I heard you say mama need to be looking at the.
No, they not going to PTO, bro. Nobody going to PTO.
I know, and that's the problem. We need to have these PTO and these PTAs and the Black Lives Matter people need to be at these schools and these universities, forcing these administrative folks to be held accountable for what's being taught to these young people, and that's not being done.
We are at a point where you all, or not you all, but that there's that there is too much expectation for what a school system can do, or what the school can do for your child. I can educate your child all day long, but I can't raise your child. I can't teach them manners. I can't be their school counselor all the time. I can't be their parent. I can't be the person who their disciplinary. There's just too many things that the people have placed on a campus or on a school that almost are impossible to do. And and to me, a lot of times, it's really the parent who has almost kind of ruined the school system. School systems are so afraid of parental lawsuits. It is utterly ridiculous, because every time that your child gets a bad grade and you feel like the teacher didn't do enough, even though the teacher may be doing his or her job, but because you feel like your child. I had a parent one time tell me that I should let them redo a homework assignment because, my child needs to make an A, and I'll do whatever it takes to make that possible. The parent went directly, after talking to me, went to the principal because I wouldn't allow that child to redo his homework. Why? Because that child had time to sit with you at home and to discuss and perfect his homework before he brought it to my classroom. And the thing about it is that once he brought it to my classroom, you as the parent should have already looked over that child's homework. But because you don't have enough time, because you're too busy, because you're raising children, because you're working multiple jobs, or because you downright feel like you don't want to, now I'm held responsible for your child's grade because you feel like it was my fault. That's not acceptable. And I think that's the thing. I think there's so many factors that play a part directly and indirectly with the educational system and making a child who they are. Things can only be done so much from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. These children go to 7 to 10 classes a day. And so in those 7 to 10 classes, there are teachers who have 35, sometimes, 32 and 35 students in a class. I can't be everybody's mom. I can't be everybody's dad. I can't be everybody's counselor. I try. I'm not saying we don't try. We do. We definitely try. But at the same time, the expectation is too high on all what can be done for a child.
Well, we just need to go get Joe Clark. Shit. And you can call me Batman. Now they just call me Crazy Joe.
Crazy Joe.
So we need to lean on me.
We see like these differences in the numbers when comparing black and brown boys to their white counterparts. And one of the things was talking about undersourced and poorly performing schools. Maria, in your tenure and in your experience with education, what would you say is the difference between schools that are performing well and these schools that are performing terribly?
Parent involvement.
It is parent involvement, but you also have to look at the system. I mean, like you said before, it is systematic. What are the benefits of a school who have high test scores? The benefits of the school that has high test scores is that, typically the way that the state chooses to give a school money are based on those things, are based on how are they performing, are based on how many, particular student populations you have on your campus, are based on attendance. if you look at the attendance rates at a majority minority school, would it be the same as the white counterpart? But I think in the same breath, there are multiple reasons why there's such a difference. Is it fair? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, when you have a school that has a high, that in the neighborhood, there's a high rental rate, and you have multiple people living in, multiple family domains, and, you have one person paying school property taxes, but you go to an area, a residential area that everyone is paying property school taxes, and all that money is getting funded, funneled to the neighborhood school, there is going to be a difference there. But, in the same breath, I think, when individuals see the difference, when organizations see the difference, when school districts see the difference, are they trying to balance that out? Majority of the time, I wouldn't agree. I wouldn't say yes.
From an electoral or election perspective, what should we look for in a presidential candidate, in a local candidate, when it comes to education?
So I'll just say, as far as the elected officials, I think, many times you need to elect officials who identify with the background of the constituents that they're serving. I think when you get somebody and at least not only identify with it, but actually display a desire to work with those individuals.
Common Core. Should we look at a candidate that is for Common Core and see that person as electable from an educational perspective, or should we not be interested in the Common Core?
That's a really good question. I think when it comes to Common Core, I really do believe that you should do what's best for your constituents, for the people that you're serving. I think there are positive and negative things about every initiative that's trying to be placed on the educational system. No Child Left Behind left us with children who have been out of place and pushed on, but it also has provided an opportunity for many of the classrooms to be served by individuals who have studied what they're teaching these children. Before, you could just grab anybody basically and have them teach a class, but now you have to have people who are degreed in the area that they're teaching. So when I look at No Child Left Behind, I can't say all of it is bad. With anything, I think with anything you try to implement, you look at the things that are most discussed and the things that people find controversial, and those are the primary things that will be discussed and will be publicized, but also look at the things of ways that it can help. No initiative is perfect. It will never be, because there's too many factors that are involved in making an initiative, and there's too many hands in the pot when initiatives are created. So perspectives are different. And I think that's the same thing with Common Core. I think that you can find many things that are tremendously wrong with Common Core, but in the same breath, I think you can find things that will work.
What are some of the quick wins that we can do to address the disproportionately issues that are happening between African American males and Latinos?
I think some of the things that can be done, I think community organizations, especially, because we come from a community where even in the Latino community, many times you have fraternal organizations that really need to get more involved, instead of doing activities where they show up, take a picture, and then you don't see them for the year. Just kind of maintain some consistency. I think it also needs to be an old school approach where many of the neighborhood churches get involved as well, especially with these, minority schools. I think that churches have become too political, and they're playing the political game, and now, they want to kind of take a hands-off approach on, kind of dedicating their time to helping particular people. So I think that's another thing that can be done.
No,
I think
because church and school are separate. You can't have church and school together.
You can have community members, even church members or church leaders involved in decision-making committees for the campus.
No, they just need to be on the PTA or the PTO.
Boy, you live and die by the PTO, huh?
Man, look.
Your mama must have been the PTA president.
The president for his entire school career.
Elementary career.
No, but I saw the benefits, and I'm gonna say something because BG, you got a closing because I got to close.
Okay, well, I'll let you close. But what I will say is that, I mean, as we didn't highlight it, it's so many different factors that play a role in this on an individual level. I do think that it is going to be us getting involved. From the way that I look at it, what our kids are needing, they're needing a supplement. They're needing individuals to come in and fill the gap. To mentor, of course, but to also tutor and to expose these kids to all these other things outside of the world that they exist in on a day-to-day basis. Oftentimes, or historically, I guess that supplement would have come entirely from the home base. Like your parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles would read to you, would help you with homework, would take you on field trips and all this type of stuff. But our family structure is a little different now on average. And so it's just going to be individuals such as ourselves getting involved and doing what we can to supplement and not requiring the school systems themselves to do everything for us because, like Maria was saying, they're not equipped for one. And then for two, there are a lot of things in place that won't even allow the school to do those things. So we just got to individually get involved.
My only closing is that, I definitely encourage more people. It doesn't have to be parents. I think so many times that, people say the parents need to get involved. There can be so many other individuals that get involved in children's lives. And I think, we've lost that concept of it takes a village to raise a child. Because, truly, in essence, it does. I don't care if a child comes from a two-parent home. Sometimes a child still has a void that cannot be filled by the parents, that may be filled by, something in a big brother or big sister program. So I think in saying that, I think, especially with the Black and Latino students, I think I would agree with BG. I think they need so many things. And I think that everybody can be a part of providing those things to them. And I would just encourage everybody to do so.
We've just spent over an hour discussing a very complicated issue. And I think what we've been able to confirm is that the issue of disproportionate discipline between blacks and Latinos is much larger than surface levels. In the words of BG, the co-pilot, there's level to this shit. But I say that to say that I truly believe that what we're seeing and what we're hearing is a disconnect between the communities and the educational system. And likewise, there's also a disconnect between the communities and the police department. And we have a lot of people talking, whether that be the different marches that we're having, whether that be the different movement organizations that have grew as a result of the violence that's occurred between unarmed black men. But there a lot of talking, but there's very little doing and very little action. And the reason for that is because everybody's busy self-promoting, looking for self-gratification versus hearing or seeing the disconnect that continues to happen between our communities and the different entities that essentially raise and protect our young people. So I really think that there needs to be more of a communication between the so-called leaders and them and them being the intercessories or being the group of people that work to connect the communities and the educational system, and that work to connect the communities and the police departments. And until we change our focus from a macro perspective to more of a micro perspective, where we are holding not only the local police departments accountable, but we're also holding the educational systems accountable, because it is, in my opinion, it's horrible that BG can literally speak of how he's teaching sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and they can't even critically think or analyze a question to put it on pen and paper. So, long story short, or to summarize, I really think that we need to figure out, and we really need to establish these PTOs. We need to establish these PTAs, but we also need to really look at these administrative officials that are in place and hold these folks accountable. And until we change our focus from a macro to a micro and start these grassroots initiatives, then we're going to continue to have these same conversations 10 years from now that we're having on today.
Selena, any closing statements from you?
I would just, piggyback with regards to the community involvement, and we all have to hold ourselves personally accountable for what we do as well. And I'm preaching to the choir because I haven't been as active as I can be in the communities that I live and work in, and definitely have the time to do so. So I'm definitely looking forward to participating at Maria's school with the kids there with regards to financial literacy and work readiness. So it's definitely an inner city school. I would imagine there will be some hurdles and some good things happening there. So I'm looking forward to that. And even for those in our generation that already do have families, where it allows for it, bring your kids too. We have to demonstrate to our kids, or for those that have kids, demonstrate to your kids, like, this is what we have to do. This is our responsibility, we're going to go and we're going to volunteer here. We're going to give our time and help, build something or share something or donate something or help other kids out. It has to be, reflected in our actions so that we continue to pass it on so that we can build this all back up.
And Maria, I challenge you, Maria, you and your colleagues, to think of a new innovative way to recreate the PTO. It doesn't have to be the same structure that we followed or that my parents followed where they went to the school. We have all these technologies and all these social media accounts and all of these new ways where we can virtually create a PTO to encourage parents to participate. And I'm not specifically saying at the location where you currently are, you guys have 4 members, maybe working with those guys to come up with a way to get more involvement, and you guys taking your ideas and presenting that at a higher level to encourage the participation. Because I think the problem that occurs is that we continue to try to solve 2015 issues with 1986 methods. So the 1986 method that in which my mother was at South Brooklyn Elementary School walking to my teacher class to meet my teacher doesn't apply in 2015. But I'm pretty sure there's a 2015 solution that will assist both the parent and the administration that can be implemented and created to create a 2015 solution. And that's all I got to say. I do apologize.
Well, you heard it here first. Free Lunch Podcast. This is what we do. Maria, we like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. We know you just got out of a faculty meeting, so we appreciate you dropping in and sharing that with us.
Thank you. And I definitely accept your challenge. Thank you.
Okay, dog. She accepted the challenge. But stop by anytime.
Stop by anytime and let us know the result of that challenge, because now what I tend to do is brainstorm of different ideas. So I'm gonna be thinking about this now to figure out how we can come up with a 2015 solution for PTO and PTA that's convenient for everyone.
Ms. Lena, you want to let them know how the people can reach you?
You can reach me on Instagram at 3 Selena.
Lord have mercy. All right. Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Free Lunch Podcast listeners, be sure to drop by freelunchpodcast.com. Check out this one and all of our podcasts and blogs. Also, you can hit us up on Twitter, Free Lunch Pod C. And we're on Instagram, Free Lunch Podcast. And if you've got any show ideas or you just want to tell us how much you love us, you can also shoot us an email, freelunchpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep. And also, if you have any thoughts or comments surrounding how we can come up with a way to incorporate community into the educational system, i.e. PTO, PTA, shoot us a thought, shoot us your comment. We definitely want to have Maria back on the show if she is able to implement a new solution, because I would be interested in having that presented across the districts in her where she's located. Also, don't forget about D1 Sports Talk Podcast. Very entertaining podcast that focuses on sports but has that quote-unquote, as Coach like to call it, barbershop flavor to it. We're going to continue to grow that podcast as part of the New South Movement Network. So you can reach us at D1 Sports Talk Podcast on Instagram. You can also shoot us an email on d1sportspodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to the actual website, d1sportstalkpodcast.blogspot.com. That's D, the number 1 for all of those. So that's all we got. This is your boy Tight. I do have the lovely ladies Maria and Selena with us, as well as the co-pilot of this show, B. Jeezy. And we are out of here, the New South Movement, Free Lunch Podcast.
Let's go, let's get it. Let's go, let it go now. Let it go, let's get it. Get it, got 'em. Let's go, let's get it. Let's go, let it go now. Let it go, let's get it. Super mathematics, not a problem. No lock for that old block. So sign away for that bull rock. Super small, handcrafted art designs. No, they know not. Flow tougher than Tough Town. Blacker than the gram, they drum line. No overdose, I'm overwoke. I be awake before crunch time. Yeah, everywhere like sunshine. I leave right cross. Punchline, I beat the track. I eat the track. Brown paper breakfast. Lunchtime, dinner date, dessert tray. Ramadan, flow hungry. You see the sign between the line. It's G's only. No dummies, I flow lovely. They go nutty. They catch a feeling. These hoes touch. Yeah, I tell that jump off no bunch. No awakening. Home study, but you so pretty. Best show, sometimes the best way to touch him. Stand and go. Let's go, let's get it. Let's go, let it go now. Let it go, let's get it. Get it, got 'em. Let's go, let's get it. Let's go, let it go now. Let it go, let's get it. Mathematics, before I chose the path chose me. This is a large plan, divine decree.